Welcome again, endgame fans. The Woldsman has another position to show you. I've picked out a game between Rosemary Giulian and Mike Waddington from the popular 2019 Gibraltar Masters. This, though, just happens to be a recent example of a configuration of pieces that occurs fairly regularly in tournament play. The ending is that of Rook and Bishop versus Rook. Now, unless the initial disposition of pieces is unfavourable, this ending is a theoretical draw. Databases, however, reveal that the defender succeeds in getting the draw only around 55% of the time. There's also been no improvement in defensive outcomes. The data, in fact, suggests the opposite. At the moment, the defence is doing slightly less well than was the case 25 years ago. Quite plausibly, this is linked to time control changes, particularly players trying to defend on increments of between 10 and 30 seconds a move. And when we look at the losses, there is a significant proportion of fails that are quite easily avoidable. And this position is just such an example. Eliminating these common errors will improve the defence's draw percentage. So let's consider the game position, with White, Giulian to move. Now the danger here resides in the fact that the defender's king is on the first rank, with the enemy rook controlling the second rank. The attacking king lies 3 ranks above, and sometimes you encounter this position with the defending king on d1. In other words, it's in indirect opposition to the opposing king. Or, as in this case, the defending king is at 1 remove on e1. And finally, the attacking bishop is impeding the flight of White's king. It controls, in particular, the square f1. Now, the defender is countering all of this danger by checking at distance from the rear. And the white rook stands on e8. Now, the reason defenders lose positions like this one is because they fail to identify the mating square for the attacker's king. So the danger square here is e3, regardless of whether White's king stands on d1 or, as here, e1. As soon as this basic point is grasped, the defense becomes very obvious. So simplest is either to wait with rook e7, keeping control of e3, or to play rook h8 so as to meet king e3 with the move rook h3 check, and that forces black to repeat the position. Now, my top recommendation is the latter course, rook h8. And this is because if White chooses to wait with rook e7, then black can try the move bishop e4. And this generates the threat of king e3, occupying the mating square. And now there's only one move available to save the game, and that's the move king f1. And the reason is, if black now plays king e3, he allows the capture rook takes e4 check with an immediate draw, because the bishop is protecting the rook on g2. Now let's consider what happened in the game. Giulian, like many others, was suckered into giving the check rook d8 check, continuing the strategy of defending with these distant checks. But this move loses simply because it drives black's king to the most dangerous square on the board, e3. And now there is the threat of rook g1 mate, which forces white to play rook e8 check. Black plays bishop e4. And now, after king f1, white is a tempo down on the line I gave a moment ago. It's no longer possible to play rook takes bishop check because white can't have two goes. You have to wait for black to move. Now black can now win in a variety of ways. In the game, Waddington played rook g6, which is good enough. But much easier to understand is a 1-2 punching sequence. And so we'll begin with the move rook h2. Now this forces white to guard against the threat of rook h1 mate with rook g8. And now black punctures again, moves his rook to c2, again threatening rook c1 mate. White counters with rook g3 check. Black plays bishop f3, renewing the threat of mate. Now if white plays rook takes bishop, that's an inevitable loss. But if white were to play king g1, then black has a very nice checkmate. Plays rook c1 check, and now king h2 allows rook h1 mate. So remember this pitfall. Don't be suckered into driving your opponent's king to the mating square. Let's see if we can collectively improve on that 55% drawing stat in all of our games when we defend rook versus rook and bishop. Thank you for watching.